Hi, can we start?
Um, yeah, ma'am, just give me 2 minutes. I'll just give an introduction and then you can go ahead.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Hello, everyone, and good evening. This is Aarti Mishra from Team ClinSav, and I'll be your host for today. It's my honor to introduce Dr. Anju Chetia, and she is being going to present on psychology of mind as per the Patanjali. I'll give a short introduction about Dr. Anju Chetia. She is a diagnosed practitioner of Ayurveda with an experience and career spanning over 2 decades. Dr. Chetia has been graduated with a BAMS degree from KGMP College, Mumbai University in 1998, and further her studies with CCH and CGO from Vardia Hospital, Parla in Mumbai. With a passion for holistic health, Dr. Chetia has dedicated herself to the practice and promotion of Ayurveda and Panchakarma. From the past 25 years, she has served as an Ayurveda and Panchakarma consultant at Lotus Hospital Trust, Juhu in Mumbai, bringing healing and wellness to countless individuals. Beyond her practice, Dr. Chetia's commitment to spread the wisdom of Ayurveda extends globally. For the past 15 years, she has been practicing and preaching Swastha Vritta in Barcelona, Spain, where she conducts workshop at the Helipraktik Institute and seminar. Uh, she has been also like conducting workshops on the yoga, taking the seminars, various seminars of yoga at the centers and Casa Asia Institute, enlightening audience about the prevention of medicine in Ayurveda. Dr. Chetia's expertise also include specialized procedures such as Agni Karma and Marma therapies, particularly in musculoskeletal disorders. I give up on my behalf. It's all up to you, Dr. Anju. You can take this ahead. And also, I
Yeah.
would welcome all the doctors to participate in today's webinar. Thank you for getting out your time. You can take it,
Thank you
Dr.
so much.
Anju. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Aarti. Thank you, Anand. And thank you, the entire team of ClinSav, for giving me this opportunity to spread the knowledge of yoga, the psychology of mind, as per Patanjali. So I start with my presentation with a prayer. Can we just move on to the next slide, please? योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचां मलं शरीरस्य च वैदकेन योपाकरोतं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिं रानतोऽस्मि. Patanjali, the Lord of our yoga, who has actually given us this knowledge about what is mind, what is consciousness. I bow to Patanjali. Because of him, I mean, we are able to understand the psychology of mind in yoga and Ayurveda. We have been learning about yoga right from our college days, but definitely when I took up the yoga TTC course by Ayush, we could learn in depth about the psychology of mind, and it was really a wonderful experience to know about the psychology, which I feel, I mean, is the first psychology of mind which has been evolved on this earth, and he has actually written it in so beautiful form in his verses, like called as sutras, in his Patanjali Yoga Sutras. There are about four padas, and he has really told us about how we can liberate our soul. We know Ayurveda always speaks about moksha, the ultimate, moksha from the cycle of life and birth, which actually he has given everything step by step. So all these sutras are like a necklace, and he has said every sutra so wonderfully that I feel every doctor should know about these mind psychology, because when we see patients, definitely we always have to deal with so much of psychology playing in the mind of the patient. And actually, it's a doctor who can actually counsel the patient, and the patient gets complete relief. So I would like to share my knowledge about whatever I use in my practice, though it is a very, very vast, the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, but at least few of them I would like to share today, what we have understood and how I use it in my practice. Can we go to the next slide, please? Atha Yoganushasanam. So here we are starting. Atha is now that we start this discipline of yoga. So even when he writes this sutra, the first sutra, he always writes is like now we are starting. So that means it was always there, and now he is putting it in the text to make people understand, because as we go further, we know the intellectual level of these Rishi Munis. They also knew that how much we will be needing this science, because earlier it used to be, the students sitting in front of the guru, and uh, one minute. Yeah, the students sitting in front of the guru and learning the art of Ayurveda and yoga. But finally they started writing in scripts. So of course everything is there in our Vedas, but Patanjali has done a very good sankalan of all these psychology of mind. So yoga, what is yoga actually? It comes from the root Sanskrit, which is yuj, yuj samyoge, which is union of the mind and body. It is also said like union of Atma with Paramatma. So there are so much yoga. Basically, it's like union. So it's body and mind harmony. Yujasamdhau. So it's in Vedas, various forms of definitions have been written. Total integration of mind and body, or of Atma with Paramatma. Samatvam yoga uchyate. This is also said in Bhagavad Gita. That is, we need to be always neutral in whatever situations we come across. So equanimity should be always followed, so that we are not disturbed with any kind of disturbances which are there in our atmosphere. Yujasamayame, which is control and restraining our mind, because our mind, it goes into various directions, which we all know, because some or the other time when we sit for meditation, or when we sit even just on a mat to do yoga, and we understand that how our mind, we just close our eyes also, and how much we are able to connect with our body, and how much are the thoughts that keep occurring one by one in our mind. So again we have to shut off with those thoughts, and again we have to come back, so that we are again, we know what is the purpose and why we are sitting here for the meditation. So basically, to control and restrain this mind from various fluctuations. Also, it is said that manaha prashmana upaya, that is again yoga. So where our mind, same, mana is mind. So when, this is an upaya of how to control our mind. This is what yoga actually deals into. Yoga is not only about asanas. Like in the entire Patanjali's text, we just find only three sutras of asanas, but rest of at least 550 sutras is only about the mind psychology. Yoga karmasu kaushalam. Even when we are doing our karmas in the best possible way and in a complete skillful manner is also yoga, which again they denote as karma yoga. Yoga bhavati dukhaha. What does that mean? Yoga is when we are practicing yoga, when we are trying to stop the fluctuations of the mind, we are actually trying to control our pain and suffering. This is what yoga actually gives the results. Next slide. So Patanjali says in a very short verse, Yogas Chitta Vritti Nirodha. He always, so we all know about Mana, Atma, but he always has mentioned about Chitta. So what is Chitta? Chitta is full of sanskaras that we gather together. We have so much of impressions which are created on our mind, whatever our upbringing, what we are looking right from our childhood, what we are collecting the data from our school, from our college, from our surroundings, from our environment. These start conditioning our mind. So, this conditioning of mind, chitta, is what is actually a pure consciousness, but because we collect so much of knowledge and so much of information from everywhere, that many a times we fall into a lot of negativism, and which also bothers us a lot. So the modifications of this mind need to be controlled. So chitta is always, when, as I said, when we sit for a meditation also, our chitta goes into so many vrittis. So vrittis are something which are found everywhere. But if we are able to control that, chitta vritti nirodha, nirodha is controlling. And then only we are able to go to the higher stages of consciousness, which is actually what we need to practice. It's a difficult path, but Patanjali has said it in such a nice way that those who are spiritual seekers, and if they understand each and every sutra of this, they can actually go towards this path of spirituality and moksha. That is, which is the samadhi, which is the end of realization of our pure consciousness. Next slide, please. So, chitta, as we said, that chitta is something which gathers so much of information. It's like mind is an instrument, but so we have antakaran chatushtay, which is like man, buddhi, ahankar, and chitta. But this chitta, wherever he prescribes, is only about chitta. Now, Ved Vyas, who has actually done the tika on Patanjali, he has written about different kinds of mindsets, chitta bhumis. Like not every chitta is actually a person who can actually get concentrated, but in that person also, if we understand what kind of chitta is actually having this kind of gunas which we know. So we know about the three gunas, that is sattva, raja, and tama, but Patanjali describes more about these chitta bhumis. So first is the chitta bhumi, which is shipta. Shipta is a restless mind. Now, can we know that what kind of gunas will be there in the Shipta? You can also post it in the chat box. What Shipta is a restless kind of mind, which is always restless. So, how a Shipta mind will it be able to do the yoga? What kind of guna will be there in a Shipta state of a mind? It is a restless mind which does not have patience or intelligence, which is or comprehension, which is needed to contemplate the subtle principles of yoga. So, this Shipta mind, will he be able to do yoga? Will he be able to do meditation? Will he be able to do asanas? What kind of gunas will be there in the Shipta mind? You can write in the chat box. How will be a Shipta mind? What kind of gunas will be there in a Shipta mind? Okay. Any clues? So Shipta is a state of Rajogun. So when there is too much of Rajogun, the mind is completely restless. At times, because of this mind, there is always feelings of envy or malaise, and it can do concentration, but it will not be going into a yogic concentration because the mind is too restless. This mind cannot actually go for complete yoga. That is, when you want to go into a state of dhyan, dharana, and samadhi, this is a very difficult path for a shipta state of mind. Next is vikshipta. Vikshipta is which is a distracted mind. So most of the spiritual devotees have this kind of state of mind, which is calm at times and is also disturbed at times. So this kind of mind is actually can do the yoga when the mind is calm. So there can be innumerable varieties of this kind of mind depending on the intelligence and the characteristics of the person. Distracted mind can only concentrate, but this cannot last long. So that is why when the mind is calm, the person is able to do its meditation or do its yoga, which is like, when we go for most advanced stages of yoga. So at least it can do because it has got two types of gunas. Which are those gunas? Is anything coming in the chat box?
There was one answer from Dr. Shilpa that the answer is Raj.
Raja, yes.
Raj.
So,
Raj.
so in Vikshipta, which kind of gunas the mind, this Chitta Bhumi will have which kind of gunas? Can anybody answer this? Ofra, yeah, Rajas and Tamas. Vikshipta is not having Rajas and Tamas, it is having Sattva and Raja. Because as I said, at some point of time, they are very calm. At some point of time, they are very distracted. So when they are calm, they are able to do the stages of yoga, that is meditation, dhyana, dharana. But when the mind is distracted, so what happens is whenever the mind is calm, this person wants to do. So this person can actually, when they make an effort, can go into the higher stages of dhyana and dharana, but they need a lot of control because the mind gets distracted also very often. Now, moodha, this kind of chitta bhumi is a dull state of mind. Also, this is a mind which is very infatuated or obsessed with lot of wealth, families, attachments, ego, and also it's a dull state of mind. So many times there are so many afflictions which is happening that this person, I mean, the moodus chitta state of mind is not actually able to concentrate at all, because first of all, there is no interest, there is no faith. So this moodus state of mind is not really a fit bhumi for yoga. So what this modest state, what kind of guna will he have? So what is the guna which comes in the mood kind of chitta bhumi? Tamas, right? So and then there is an ekagra chitta. Now this ekagra chitta is something which is deeply can concentrate. It can concentrate on trying to whatever the chitta goes into various kinds of modification, it is able to control these fluctuations of mind. So this ekagra chitta, which kind of guna will it have? Sattva, correct. So ekagra chitta is the chitta which is actually fit chitta for performing yoga, because we need ekagrata in anything we do. Definitely we need ekagrata. A distracted mind, what kind of results can it give us, right? So here when Patanjali says each and every sutra, it is only going into higher realms of consciousness. And that is why Ved Vyasji has said that Ekagra Chitta is completely a correct and a concentrated kind of bhumi which is required for doing yoga. Now, the fifth stage also they have said is Niruddha, that is arrested state. So, what kind of guna will be there in this Niruddha Chitta bhumi? Can anyone say? When the thought process can completely be stopped. That is the Niruddha state of mind. Can anyone say which kind of guna will be there in Niruddha state? Because it is also a fifth state of yoga. And this is achieved much later, because when we can arrest completely all the thoughts, completely. Any answers? Nirguna. Yes, so it is gunatit. There is no guna in that. So this kind of chitta bhumi is unaffected by any kind of thoughts. Like not a single thought can actually disturb them. This comes more when the person is able to go into the states of the samadhi. Because Patanjali also explains when he goes into the samadhi sutras, he explains how the mind becomes completely arrested. So in that also he has given a beautiful types of samadhi, and it's a stage where we need to we need to pass so many barriers so many obstacles to go into that state. First of all, we need to be ekagra. Then only we can go into this kind of state, which is niruddha. Okay, next slide, please. So as I said that our man goes into various kind of vrittis. So vrittis are everywhere, right? We just close our eyes and we can just, our mind can go into various kinds of imaginations also. We can just tour the entire world also in just few seconds, right? So vrittis are everywhere. It's just how our mind acts when we just, sit for concentration. So vrittis are basically they are of two types, which is klishta and aklishta. What is klishta is which are painful, and aklishta is which is non-painful. So all our thoughts can come under these, and then they have divided into five vrittis. All our thoughts can come into these five vrittis. We need to just catch what are the kleshas which lead to these kinds of vrittis. So the strategy of these, controlling or understanding these vritti is to lower the painful tendencies with the help of higher non-painful ones, because we need to be indifferent. We need to have a witness attitude in every moment. Because if we are like having a witness kind of attitude, then only we are able to be indifferent, right? So nothing can affect us. Neither too much of pleasure, neither too much of pain should not affect our chitta. Okay, so this is what why we need to control our vrittis, because we need to go to the higher realm of consciousness. And also in our day to day life also, when we explain to the patients, sometimes the patients come with so much of problems. I mean, everybody has got some or the other issues. Somebody having problems with their jobs, someone having problems with their family, someone having problems with the finance. So finally, I mean, when you explain, I'm sure most of you must be explaining that this is a phase and it will pass, right? So these are the usual words we use. Or like we also use like Shakespeare's words like world is a drama, and life is a drama, world is a stage, we are the actors, we need to play our role and we need to go back. So please don't be so attached to all these things. We do definitely tell people, when we counsel, right? We see a lot of pain and agony when they talk to us. Some of them, when we even talk to them, they start crying also, right? So if we understand what are the basis of these vrittis and how we are able to help them, we will be able to make their life better. So pramana. So pramana is the first vritti. Now what is pramana is actually, so we have always learned in Ayurveda pramana in our first year also, like Padartha Vigyan, right? So we know about pratyaksha, Anuman, and Agam, right? So, Pratyaksha, Anuman, and Agam are the pramana. So, when we see the object directly with our senses, it is Pratyaksha, right? So, what is Anumana? Is like logical thinking, right? What some knowledge we know, we have seen in the past, and then we try to correlate. So, that is Anumana, right? Then we have Agam. Agam means we learn so many things from our text, Vedas, and we get a lot of information on our chitta. And then we try to use them in our day to day life, right? So, pramana is again one kind of vritti where in our day to day observances, we always are within these vrittis. Then comes vikalpa. Now, vikalpa is what like, so pramana is something like right cognition. Vikalpa is incorrect cognition. How incorrect, like, because sometimes we have some knowledge, but then it may be not true at that particular moment. Like for example, when we see in a desert, like the like somewhere we see a sand like shining. So what we just feel that, oh, maybe there's a silver over there. So sand looking like silver, or a rope looking like a snake. So then we try to have this kind of vikalpa, like it's kind of a wrong knowledge or incorrect cognition. Then comes viparya. um, yeah. So viparya, again, imagination, but the things that don't exist. A fertile mind is full of imagination, but such mind should be always under check, because fear, anxiety, all these comes with this kind of mind. Fourth is nidra. So for the yogic practitioners, nidra is also one of the vrittis, because nidra is full of tamoguna. we always need more of a concentrated mind. So even nidra is not a correct kind of a vritti for yogic practitioners. Smriti, there are so much of latent impressions on our mind because we always have so much of collection of thoughts from the past. And whenever this past, sometimes when we just sit quietly also, we just go back into so many years of our past memories, something we see, and again we correlate it to the past. Some memories are sweet, some memories are painful, but any kind of memory is not good for a yogic practitioner because they are the latent impressions on the mind. We see this even with our patients also, that there are so many latent impressions on the mind which has been caused, and they keep bothering about the things which have happened in the past. So this past also, always hampers their peace of mind, and also, then the worry for the future, because there is a lot of correlation what is happening in the past and the present, and then we worry about the future. So smriti is also one type of vritti, which is again, we need to restrain from these kinds of vrittis. And we actually use in our practice also, we always ask the patients that what is, when we ask their history also, something that is bothering you from a long time, something, do you want to share with me something, what is actually bothering you? So patients always tell this thing has happened, or this, and we have to always explain them that, okay, this is a phase, I mean, why do you want to go back? Everything is sorted out, now you're in the present, so try to be in the present. So this kind of counseling we do keep giving to our patients, right? Okay, so next slide. Yeah. So as I was saying that the mind, why we go into these kind of vrittis, because many a times we are always afflicted by kleshas. What is kleshas? Kleshas is something which we, it's always there in our mind. Like even if we just take about the word klesha, so we always say, right? Oh, why do you get so angry? Or do you get so jealous? So basically, kleshas are full of negative emotions, right? Whenever we say the word klesha itself is a negative emotion. So Patanjali, what he has done is he has given a bifurcation of these kinds of kleshas. So the first kleshas, the ringleader, is avidya. So what is avidya is wrong knowledge, right? We always try to practice so many things with wrong knowledge because of our imaginations, because of we just imagine things, right? Some things may not be real also, but because of our imaginations we just go into kind of wrong knowledge. We also misinterpret so many correct things, and then we also have seen that because of the wrong knowledge, people go into lot of different kind of inferences, and they do a lot of wrong things. So this is a wrong cognition, which becomes active and it manifests. And then the strength of the gunas, that is sattva, raja, and tama, they start following. And then there is a lot of change, in our actions, and it causes a cause and effect motions. And that is why we get a lot of fruits of actions, which may not be correct for our environment or for our own body itself. So these gunas, then they go into the stage of ego, mahat, all this kind of, so different kind of perceptions in the brain. When there is a lot of avidya, so our mind and our buddhi also works in that direction. So the avidya is the breeding ground of all kinds of kleshas, because it is basically the wrong knowledge, it will lead into other different kinds of kleshas, which is like asmita, right? So that is like egoism. Now what is egoism? That I sense, I have done this. I mean, it's like always I in everything, right? So it is a real block of the mind. So every ego believes that we are perfect, hence we cannot take any faults, and we cannot, like if somebody points out of a faults also, we always get very disturbed, okay? And we don't want to, because we are very impulsive at times when you have this kind of ego. Due to ego, one feels that the body, the senses and the intellect are the real person, which is not actually, because it is avidya, right? Because what are we, if we imagine our soul and our mind, and if we keep it very ekagra and concentrate, so I mean, we are what we I mean, we have come, we are born, we have to die one day. So so man is mortal, we all know that, right? But sometimes this kind of avidya, it comes, and then there's a lot of ego-ness in every aspect of our field. We see that I being, I sense, ahamkara. So all this is asmita. Then raga, attachment. Again, attachment is also one kind of a wrong knowledge. So everything comes from avidya only, because attachment always follows pleasure. So as Patanjali says, sukhanushayi raga. So that means raga is always followed by pleasure. Happiness, I mean, is it always the same? I mean, if we are in a happy state, are we in a happy state forever? No, because happiness also has kind of the other coin where we see is dukkha. Because when we understand happiness, then only we are able to see the dukkha, right? So we always, when we are happy, we always want more and more and more, right? So it's like dil mange more kinds of. So it is an intoxicant, too much of happiness mentally or emotionally also, it is actually intoxicating, because we then desire a lot, and that desire, we want more of self satisfaction, but it is all momentary, because due to avidya we always believe that we can always continue our desires, and we keep pursuing it. So we always keep following it. But here, where Patanjali tells you that happiness is also momentary. So then is dvesha. Dvesha is aversion. So definitely, as I said, when we have happiness, we also have kind of dvesh, like hatred, right? Are we happy with all people around us? No. So there are some people who are bothering us, right? So what that gives us? Sorrow. So dvesha always follows sorrow, right? So it is an aversion in which dwells the pain. All the pain comes from what? Disappointment. If our things are not done properly, if our desires are not fulfilled, then is it possible that our desires will be fulfilled always? No. So there comes dvesha. Then there is hatred. But then we have to rise up from this, because it is very important when we have to rise up spiritually. So normally people remember God when there is too much of dukkha, right? Pleasure also people should remember God, but as Kabir has also said that sukh mein simran सब कर दुख में सिमरन सब करे सुख में करे na koi, right? So this is a normal individual tendency that we always, when we are dukhi and all, we always, oh my God, please help us to relieve of this situation, why the situation has to come to us, so many thoughts. So it adds to a lot of misery, right? Then is abhinivesh, fear of death. So, what is fear of death? Everybody, I mean, we know that so many people who are very near to death, or even any kind of change, also, because we are so attached to certain environment and certain circumstances, that even any kind of change, also, in our environment, we fear, right? Because we don't know what is going to happen. Even a small change also gives us a fear, because we are very happy when things are going smooth, but when there is some change happening, which is going to happen, right? We are not going to be the same every time. There are situations which keep coming. Okay, like a movie. So it's just one after the another. So different kind of situations. And we need to face these kind of situations when we realize that what we are, what is our soul, what is our chitta, then only we are able to slowly, we don't get attached to these things, and we understand that we need to come out. So basically, being in a neutral state, like witness kind of attitude, is what Patanjali wants to tell us. Next slide, please. So, Chitta Prasadan. What is Chitta Prasadan? Now, Patanjali tells us all the measures also. It tells us the causes, and then it tells us the measures, how we need to, come ahead of all these kinds of, because when we even read about these things, our mind gets more, aware. So it's basically awareness. What is happening with us? Every day, every moment, we need to be aware. We need to be aware if we are doing something like any kind of a deed, if we are getting angry also, or if you're becoming too happy also, we should know that what is going to follow along with this. So chitta prasadan, so we need to also purify our mind. So prasadan is like purification of mind. This is the most beautiful sutra which is found in Samadhi Pada, and it really helps in our practice. Now, how it helps in our practice? So So what he says is in this sutra, which is the Samadhi Pada, the first is the Samadhi Pada, and the 33rd sutra is this. So Maitri Karuna Mudito Upekshanam Vishayanam Bhavana Chitta Prasadanam. Okay, so this means that we are told here to purify the mind uh, among the people whom we are living with. We need to become more ekagra and achieve serenity. Okay, the hardest thing in the life is to be involved in life and to be aware of our pure consciousness. So, what is Maitri? We need to be friendly with people who have experienced happiness and who are very, care or loving people. We need to be always friendly with such people who are always joyful. So always be having maitri with people who are sukhi. So it says maitri karuna mudita upeksha sukha dukkha punya apunya. So the sutras are so beautiful, like how our Sanskrit shlokas in our Ayurveda are so beautiful. These sutras are amazing. So we have to be friendly with such kind of people, because this will always help us in our upbringing. We should also have karuna, compassion with the people who are full of sorrow. Like when we see a person full of sorrow, I mean, we don't need to do pity, but we need to have compassion, because the same thing can happen with anybody or with us also. So being compassionate is also a very good virtue. Mudita. Mudita is goodwill. Now, in our life, we always see that people excel in life. Even if we have studied together, Ayurveda, some people go to a very high extent. Some people are just managing, their own small clinics. Some people are becoming lecturers. Some people, but we don't need to compare anything. But whoever excels in life also, even our friends also. So we should always have a goodwill towards them, because this is how to be happy in their happiness. And this is a path of virtue, so we need not be jealous, but we need to always move along with them. So mudita with punyavan people. Upeksha. Now, upeksha is like being indifferent. Okay. So people who are, they say, punya, apunya. Apunya means what? Like papi, right? So there are people who do a lot of ill things, right? So what we need to do is, like, we don't need to, oh my God, hatred, or towards them. We need to be indifferent. Like, I kind of witness kind of attitude. Okay, neutral. Okay, so if they are doing their vices or whatever, we just need to be indifferent, because these should not affect us. We should not go into despair, anger, jealousy. So when we see these kinds of vices, it is better to be indifferent to these things, because people will be having a lot of faults. It's better we don't speak about that. It's better that we be indifferent. So this sort of thoughts give rise to lot of clean virtues, and that is why our mind can become pure. So this is called as chitta prasadanam. This is also called as parikarmas by Patanjali. These are the special techniques which Patanjali has told us. So he keeps telling these techniques. This is the first technique when he starts. There are so many techniques in the later parts that he has told us. Like for example, he has said that uh, the next sutra immediately comes is where we need to control our breath. Why we need to control our breath? Because when we do deep breathing, or when we restrain our breath also, we make our mind calm. So this is another technique which Patanjali has told us. So like this, he keeps on telling the problems, the obstacles which come during when we are doing meditation, or when we are following the dhyana dharana, or and the further stages of higher consciousness. And then he also tells us about, like, not everybody is very highly intellectual. So he has explained for different kind of intellects different parts of yoga. He has also said about kriya yoga, like tapa, swadhyaya, and ishwar pranidhan. Patanjali yogi, he always believes into ishvara. So many times we see in bhakti yoga also, people fully they devote themselves to God. Like whatever happens, they just say, okay, God is doing it, God is doing it. So at least they have taken God as a measure, that whatever it is, it's not because of me and all. It's just that God wants to happen this thing to him. So the acceptance comes, in Bhakti Yoga. So similarly, Patanjali tells about that many things are not in our control, and it is better that certain things which are not in our control, we need to do the Ishwar Pranidhan. Similarly, he says that self introspection, understand about the self, what we are feeling in every moment, awareness, as I've said in the past, and tapa, like not necessary that you will get everything in life. So you should know where to draw lines, how to draw lines. So like fasting is again one way of tapa. Like this, he has explained about tapa in a very beautiful way. Also, he has explained about Ashtanga Yoga in the further sutras, like yamas, niyamas, which we know and which we need to follow, like ahimsa, satya, brahmacharya, aparigraha, non-collection of things. Because it's not that we need always so many things. It's just that attachment, or just, we need to, when we go to a party, we need to show we have a good dress or whatever. So these are all kinds of attachments. So he says non-collection of things, which is, so these are all yamas, are social observances. We know ahimsa, satya, these all help in your spiritual life. Even the niyamas, the further then he says about asanas, pranayama, as I said, breath control measures are again very good to connect our body and mind. And then he says about the future stages of dhyana, dharana, samadhi. In between, he speaks about the pratyahar, that is the bridge from the inner spiritual to the outer spiritual. So he has created this bridge, how we should withdraw our senses. All these things Patanjali has told us so beautifully. Next slide, please. Next slide. So, yoga and spirituality. As Bhagavad Gita also says, that yoga is the journey of self, through the self and to the self. Everything is here. We need to understand our consciousness. We need to become aware of this consciousness. We need to become of each and every moment, and we need to be neutral in every moment. That only will bring us a lot of peace to our inner mind. And then we can go to the higher states of consciousness. Next slide. So, as a younger yogi also says, that yoga teaches us to cure, need not be endured, and endure what cannot be cured, because we know that certain things are not in our control. And then we need to be able to understand and how we need to endure what kind of discomforts we can have. And especially, they should not be discomforts, because if we know about our own consciousness and awareness, we are able to explain ourselves and also to our people who are surrounding us, and especially our patients, right? So thank you so much. If there are any questions, anything, you can please ask. And I hope my conversation was understood. I just wanted to give a glimpse about what Patanjali is. And if people get the opportunity, and all the doctors here, if they get the opportunity of reading this Patanjali Yoga Sutras, please do read. It's a really a wonderful, wonderful science from our Vedas.
If there are any questions, you can keep it in the chat box. One by one, Dr. Anju will answer it.
I'm not a great teacher, but definitely what I have studied, I wanted to share with you all. But please, the questions are always welcome, because we grow with the questions and the answers. If anybody wants to say something also, their experiences or anything are most welcome. Any questions?
Yet there have been, okay, so one of the doctor has asked, how can we guide patient to stop correlation with past?
Yes, so it's more of, you have to be with the patient and you need to counsel because the patient is completely having faith in you. Each and every word of you matters to the patient because the patient comes with a very open mind to the doctor. And that is why when he discusses about these things, about his past memories or anything which is giving him a lot of trouble, it's basically that you need to explain them that this type of whatever you are passing through is something which was there in the past. It need not be there in the future. It is not there today. So making the patient aware of, his own consciousness, that be in the present. And this is how, they will be getting disconnected. So you have to tell them some kind of techniques where they can just focus more on what is being done every day. So deviation of mind. Whenever such problems occur, I always tell them, whenever something past is giving disturbance to your mind, just go for deep breathing that time. Whenever some kind of anger or anything, something, a thought is disturbing your mind, just keep doing deep breathing, which will pacify you immediately, because that is a technique which is so wonderful. I mean, some people do like different kinds of things like music or something, but if their state of mind is not that great, will they be able to listen to good music? But at least, they can do deep breathing wherever and whenever. How much are the one just see the question. Yeah, so I think Ufra Ufra has asked, what can we advise for post-traumatic depression? Yeah. So Ufra over here also, I can understand. I think you are, yes, because you must be talking about the situations that are happening in Israel, and so much of, people have so much of, they have passed through so much in whatever has happened in the last few months. Of course, it is not good. I know it can affect the mind a lot, but it's our duty, I mean, when they are in the present and when they are with the loved ones nearby, they can just go for more of breathing techniques. Of course, too much of an anxious or a depressed mind definitely cannot do meditation, but at least they can practice more of breathing. You can also help them, giving them some ayurveda medicines or some like nasya to calm their mind, but at least helping them by counseling and by making them a lot of affirmations towards positivity, hugging them, and because they have passed through a lot, I can understand that. Any other questions? How much are the instincts? Yes, I mean, instincts also come from some kind of, what we have seen in the past, and then we are able to correlate what is going to happen. And then, our that mind, it works like, okay, oh my God, I mean, I just thought about it and it happened, right? Because it's the mind, we have conditioned our mind, or we have some past experiences which makes us feel that, okay, this situation is similar to what has happened, and something is going to happen like this, and it does happen. But I would say that whenever such kind of things happen, I mean, in the mind also, it is better that we don't allow our mind to go into too much of a negative direction. I mean, to go into a positive direction, but if there is a negative thought or a negative instinct which is happening, just cut it off immediately, because our mind is a powerful tool, and we know that each cell is a thinking cell. So it's better that we inculcate more of positivity, and we are away from any kind of these kleshas or any disturbances which can happen, because this can have a lot of sorrow, pain, suffering, and a lot of effects on our body also. Yeah, definitely the instinct we have is the sixth sense, because we know what we are going to face in future. Any other questions? Is telepathy true? It is an illusionary mind, actually, but yes, we do see that. So, sometimes we see that, oh, I have thought this, and that my other friend also has thought this. Oh, what a coincidence. Yes, because, we are in the same kind of an atmosphere, or we are going to meet, and certain kinds of thoughts, they click, and it does happen. So, as I said, each cell is a thinking cell. It depends on what we think, and the telepathy also goes in the same way. How would it be correlated to Hatha yogic techniques? Kindly elaborate on this. So, Dr. Ashish, uh, are you saying that like in Hatha yoga? I mean, it's like, I mean, I didn't understand your question actually. So what is actually, like, are you saying that how Ashtanga yoga is different from Hatha yoga, or how in Hatha yoga also? I mean, of course, Hatha yoga is more on our body postures and asanas, and also it does a lot of shatakriyas and everything to purify the mind. Definitely Hatha yoga is more something like, it is a path basically to go towards the further the realms of consciousness. So this is why Hatha yoga is also, I mean, when we do this Hatha yoga also, because we know that a Hatha yogi is actually, it's a path, where we are able to go ahead into different realms of consciousness. So I would not say Hatha yoga is different, but in Hatha yoga Pradipika or Hatha yoga, it is explained in a beautiful way how to take care of our mind and body through various techniques. Hatha yogic techniques will be helpful in PTSD. Immediately, we have to first in like, as per Patanjali, we have to first tell them more of in PTSD disorders, how we can at least control the mind from various kinds of negative thoughts. But slowly, definitely the Hatha yoga can be introduced in PTSD patients once the mind is completely in control.
Dr. Anju, this is Dr. Hima here.
Yes.
Uh, can you explain how would the hand gestures or the mudras affect the health of a patient? Do you think they just work physically, or they work on the energy body? Or can you explain the mechanism of hand mudras that have been described in Hatha Yoga also?
So when we sit doing meditation, and especially when we are into mudras, and when we are doing these mudras for a little prolonged period of time, definitely there are a lot of vibrations and energies which go to our mind. This is my own experience, and mudras definitely carry a lot of value in our yogic practices. You can share more, Hima, about this.
We have started using a lot of hand gestures, the mudras, along with the Ayurvedic medicines that we give in the clinic. And we have found that the effect of the Ayurvedic medicine, probably which we would get in around, say, 3 months, we have started getting the results, say, about in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So I was wondering, how does it accelerate the effect? Does it accelerate the effect of the medicine? We're just contemplating because we have started since the month of July in our clinic. We call a mudra therapist who has been guiding the patients for doing the mudras for their disease. So I
Okay.
was just wondering how it is helping, and on what aspect of body mind is it helping. So we have seen really beautiful results.
Yes, so I haven't used much of the mudras, but basically I know about the mudras because when we are doing yogic asanas or when we are sitting for meditation, definitely we are using hand gestures. And during those hand gestures, there's a lot of vibration and a lot of energy which carries to our entire, nervous system. So I always have felt so wonderful with these mudras. I haven't used it much on my patients as per se, but definitely I have seen myself. with these mudras. I have to practice more mudras, like especially the mudras which have been told, at least the six basic mudras which can be practiced on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. Dr. Ashish would like to say something on this. Sir, please enlighten us.
Enlighten Uganani, but then what I wanted to mention 2 3 points that we should be very clear about which discipline of yoga we are speaking about. Ashtanga yoga is a separate altogether. Okay, and the techniques in Ashtanga yoga are again very specific. What I was asking Dr. Anju to explain about certain techniques as mentioned by Patanjali Muni in Yoga Sutra, something like Pratipaksha Bhavana. Pratipaksha
Hmm.
Bhavanam is not just sutra, it's a technique. And if we know how to
Yeah.
utilize that technique, then it can be utilized for a number of things. And on the basis of this particular Pratipaksha Bhavanam, Vitarka Badhane Pratipaksha Bhavanam, that is a
Yeah.
sutra. And on
Yes.
this, the entire discipline of positive psychology has, built with, or the
Right.
entire discipline of NLP, if we are aware of NLP, neuro linguistic programming. In that,
Hmm.
we ask patient to get anchor with some positive thing first, right? And then
Yeah.
we address to the current situation. So when you are anchoring initially with positive, and then you are slowly introducing him to the current situation, and then
Hmm.
again when you want to do switch off, switch in, switch off, then it
Hmm.
becomes very easy. Okay.
Yes.
Thirdly,
Yes, doctor.
when we speak about any PTSD, any stressful event, anything which is creating weird thoughts and things like that, then it is very easy to say don't take stress, but it is very difficult for that person to not to take stress and not to think about that things which are creating problems. So over
True.
there, we should ask them to use technique again which is indirectly involved in Ashtanga and sometimes directly involved in Hatha yogic practice, and that is known as Sakshi Bhavana. Now,
Hmm.
Sakshi Bhavana is a technique which has got its roots involved in dhyana, not
Hmm.
dharana, dhyana.
Hmm.
Because we
Yeah.
cannot reach to samadhi and no one can come back and speak about samadhi. So we are only limited up to
Hmm.
dhyana. Now, in
Correct.
dhyana, in
Hmm.
way towards dhyana, this Sakshi Bhavana technique is very, very useful. And when you are doing Sakshi Bhavana, then you are supposed to look at those thoughts without getting involved with those particular, emotions. Just observe and let go. And when
Hmm.
you start doing it and there is a technique actually, there is a systematic practice to be taught to that patient. And when he does that for number of days or for number of sessions, for example, then even when he gets those flashes or visions of whatever has
Hmm.
happened in a really, really bad way, he will not
Hmm.
get disturbed so easily as he used to otherwise get disturbed with. So
Hmm.
these were the techniques in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, whereas
Hmm.
the techniques in Hatha Yoga is
Hmm.
very different. And again, of course, there is
Hmm.
a mentioning about it. For example, pranayam. You are
Hmm.
mentioning about deep breathing, but just
Hmm.
mechanical deep breathing will not help.
Hmm.
Okay, if we ask them to just do deep breathing, but that is not alone and that is not sufficient. We have to ask
Hmm.
that particular person that do deep breathing and have your
Hmm.
attention, have your awareness in the process of breathing.
Hmm.
So then that person's thought processing or that generation of those weird thoughts will get replaced with the attention on the process of deep breathing
Yes.
in a
Correct.
simplified way. And if we are
Very
going
true.
even little technically, then we may go ahead with Anulom Vilom, yeah, whichever
Below.
way, yeah,
Yeah.
Brahmari or whatever. And in
Correct.
Brahmari, basically the technique is Nadanusandhan.
Hmm.
So you listen to your own
Correct.
Nad, which
Listen
which
to
is
the
created
sound. Hmm.
by process of doing Brahmari or Onkar chanting, as
Yes.
simple as Onkar chanting. And what
Hmm.
Dr. Hima ma'am has spoken about just now, that is mudra. Now, mudra is one of the part and parcel of Hatha yogic practices. And Hatha yoga is actually evolved from nothing but Natha Sampradaya or Shiva Sampradaya per se, and it
Hmm.
is certain part of Tantrism is involved in that.
Hmm.
So it's a basically tantric practice when you create different gestures of your hands with the help of
Hmm.
your fingers and thumb and all that, and it creates particular, what I can say, particular akruti bandha in the final posture, in the final form,
Hmm.
and that
Hmm.
is having some consequences and some relationship intricately in a hidden way, in a hidden meaning. And then later on, what we are already spoken, everyone has spoken about energy and whatnot, that is okay. But then the circuit of
Hmm.
energy doesn't move out. That is one of the another important thing in this. When we
Yes.
see
It
Jnana
is
Mudra,
retained inside. Yeah.
yes, then it is
Correct.
conserved within. So
Yes.
we need to look into the depth, not just the superficial
Hmm.
aspect of it, because it is really very intricate. Even after learning yoga for such a long time, I'm not sure whether I have really understood it completely.
Hmm.
So
True.
whenever we
It's
are
very vast.
using any techniques, we need to be very careful, and in whom what is to be given is very important. You rightly mentioned, Dr. Anju, that we
Hmm.
cannot give meditative techniques in those who are depressed. But then there are
Yes.
techniques in meditation which can be used, which is combination of hatha yogic
Hmm.
practices and institutional practices, and that is something known as cyclic meditation. So in
Hmm.
cyclic meditation can be used, and it is proven clinically that it is useful. So we have
Hmm.
to actually take consideration of all different schools working now
Hmm.
also and earlier
Hmm.
also, and then should go ahead with. Anyway, thank you for giving me chance to express my thoughts. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ashish, very much. Thanks for your insights.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Ashish.
Thank you, sir.
Are there any more questions to be asked? Or we can just end up the session?
I don't think so. There are any other questions.
Okay, so we can go to the thanking speech. So as it's a wrap, I want to express my sincere gratitude. Your presence has made this webinar a success, and it was a very interesting and knowledgeable topic. And thank you, Dr. Anju ma'am, for such a great webinar with the knowledge. And thank you to all the doctors, all the participants available. We hope that we look forward to connect with you again for our future events. Safe travel on your learning journey and have a wonderful night. Good night, everyone, and thank you
Thanks.
so much once again.
Thanks to the
Yeah,
entire
thanks,
team. Thanks a
everybody.
lot.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.